Hi guys, my name is Portia. Welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about what it is that I'm doing at work to prepare for CRNA school and to prepare for my interview. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about are drips and vents. So one thing about being in the ICU is you have to become familiar and confident with understanding medication and how to titrate your drips according to your patient's diagnosis, comorbidities, physician's orders, and patient's current status, or how the patient reacts to medication. So one common medication that you will find will be lots of vasopressors. So you have your vasopressin, you have your levo, phenylephrine, medications like that are for blood pressure. So how those medications work is you titrate based on a MAP goal. So for some patients, you may have to go higher on levo than for others. And for some patients, they may respond to only a small amount. However, but what I like to do when I get patients with drips, I like to write down the medication, the mechanism of action, and side effects. For example, phenylephrine is a medication that causes vasoconstriction, which helps with increasing your MAP cardiac output. And so one side effect of that medication is called reflex bradycardia. So you will notice that the more you titrate up on that medication, the patient heart rate may start to go down. And so if that happens, then you know what the issue is. And then for other medications, you may have a patient who is on vasopressin and who is on levo. And so you may have to titrate. Usually, for patients that I've had, vasopressin, we don't titrate up. We start them at a certain dose, 0.04 units, and we leave it there. We can titrate down, we usually don't titrate up. And that patient also has something additional, like a levo or either phenylephrine. Usually it's levo and vasopressin. So I had a patient who was on, I got to work that night, and the patient was going off of vaso and was on levo, but she was on a little bit of a high dose. So after I got report, of course, as always, the blood pressure started to go down. So I started going up a little bit on the levo, and then I said, well, why? The vasopressin is still there, it's still ordered. So I restarted the vasopressin, came down on the levo, and she was good. However, if you know your vasopressors, you know that a side effect would be decreased urine output. So her urine output went from like 100 cc's an hour or 200 an hour down to like 20, 25 an hour. I knew what was causing it, so I didn't panic, but I still notified my intensivist so that he is aware. We ended up giving her a bolus, which was actually really good because it helped with urine output and helped with the blood pressure. So I was able to come down off of the vaso. At the end of my shift, she was off the vaso and on levo at about 16. So I'm saying this to say that whenever you get a patient who has these drips, especially these antiarrhythmics, these vasopressins or vasopressors, any medications cardiac related, your amiodarone, your esmolol, what else? Oh, sorry about that. Your amiodarone, your esmolols, eat cardine, any medication that's going to affect blood pressure or anything to do with the heart. You want to make sure that you know your mechanism of action. You want to make sure, why is your patient getting it? My patient was getting levo and vasopressin because they thought she was in septic shock from a UTI infection that apparently spread everywhere. So know your mechanism of action, know why it's used, know side effects, and also be aware that every patient responds differently to these medications. I may have a patient who's 80 years old, 150 pounds, who's going to need substantially less of the medication compared to a male who's 40 years old and 250 pounds. So you have to understand the medication and know that not one thing works for all patients. So next is going to be your ventilators. I love vented patients. A perfect day for me is coming into work, vented, sedated, and on drips galore. That's just me. That's what I love to do. So what you want to do with your vents, you want to be aware of your vent settings. No, we don't adjust vent settings. That is the physician and the RT. However, you need to think about, okay, if my patient looks labored, okay, then I'm going to anticipate that, of course, we're going to draw ABG. I'm going to anticipate that she's probably going to need an adjustment for her respiration rate. So you need to just think about certain things that you anticipate that the doctor is going to change. If the patient is breathing, patient is on AC, assist control, and VC. So that means the machine switch back and forth between the ventilator doing the work if it needs to, and then the ventilator not doing the work, the patient can do it herself. If I see that she's breathing on her own most of the time, then I'm going to say, hey doc, she looks like she's breathing on her own for the most part. Maybe we should think about adjusting her settings down. So yeah, and then whenever you get your ABGs, just think about, even the RT brings it to you. The doctor will see it anyway because it's in the system, but you should just look at it and say, okay, well, this looks like this, so maybe we should adjust this, or you should say, oh, well, she looks good, so we'll do a spontaneous breathing trial and go from there. So don't be scared of your vent. Go to the vent, look at it, make sure your settings are correct, assess your patient, so that way you know if those settings need to be adjusted or not. And most people don't like the suction. Listen, I will suction if I need to, because I hate going into a room hearing the patient sound like they're drowned in secretions. I hate going into the room and seeing the patient like salivate, saliva everywhere, drooling. Just suction. It takes like 2 seconds. Okay, so yeah, that's it for the ventilators. So the second thing that I'm doing at work to prepare are making sure that my assignments are assignments where I feel like I'm going to be challenged and that I'm going to learn. So in ICU, of course, you're new to the ICU, everything that you get is going to be a challenge for you. However, after you get comfortable in being in that setting, you should take the time to ask for harder assignments or more difficult patients. For example, let's say I'll work tonight, and I tell the charge nurse tomorrow, hey, give me a patient who is like an unusual case or a hard case, because they give me opportunity to learn. And you tell them that, okay, I can go by my own experience. When I tell them that, they give me exactly what I asked for. Other hospitals, I can't say. So there's this one charge nurse, she's a younger girl, and she always go, okay, give Portia a patient in room 1 because that patient has a lot going on. Yes, give me that patient. Give me the patient who was the rapid response or the cold blue on the floor. That's the patient that I want. I'm going to spend half my night just stabilizing that patient. So that's what I like to do. And you want to take opportunities. So if you come to work and I would suggest going to work early if you can or if you want to, and just scanning the floor and just say, hey, let me get patient in bed 1. Or talk to a chart, like, what's going on with patient in bed 8? They look like they're like a leg in and a leg out. So take the time, take the initiative to get harder cases so you can learn more. Don't be intimidated by the drips and the vents and the feedings. Now, that's going to be the opportunity for you to actually learn about your medications and to learn how to be confident in your skills as a critical care nurse. Because whenever you become a CRNA, you have your attending in some places who you could call up and ask for a question, but let's say something's going on in the middle of a case. You can't just stop what you're doing to go call our patient when you have to know what to do and how to act. So building up confidence as a critical care nurse is essential, I think, to being a really good CRNA. Getting involved at work. So right now, it's funny because as soon as I got in the ICU, opportunities started flowing my way. I never, ever had any interest in becoming a charge nurse. Wasn't on my list. I'm not a manager of people because I can't make everybody happy, and that's just not, I'm just not here for the complaining. However, the opportunity of charge nurse actually kind of just fell into my lap. One night I come to work and I was charged. That night, it was a good night. It was a really good night. And I took the role of charge nurse very seriously. But it's amazing how you don't think about how others view you as a coworker or as a nurse. And when I got there and I saw my name as charge, I was, wait, what? Who? Me? She? Her? I was like, wait, no, that can't be right. They were like, yes, it's you. We picked you. The free charge picked you. You're going to be charged for it tonight, and you can do it. And all of a sudden, I just felt like I felt my heart just going nuts. I felt like I was in VTAG or SVT or something. And I was just like, okay. And I mean, I had palpitations probably up until midnight, but I took it very seriously. I was very humbled that my coworker saw me in that light, and I was still new to the floor. At that time, I hadn't even hit 6 months on the floor. So that was one way that I got involved at work, and I have been charge nurse again after that. And my managers actually looked into the idea of me becoming full-time charge at night. So we'll see how that goes. So that's one way that I'm getting involved at work. It shows leadership skills, and it shows that others view you in a light to be a leader, right? So the second way that I'm getting involved is I am a part of the unit practice council for the critical care division. So usually, I don't know how all hospitals work, but in my hospital there's something called a PNPC. So it's a practice council that the committee members are all nurses. And so it's just like the nurses taking initiative and taking charge of making changes happen that benefit the nurses. But the PNPC is the nurses as a whole. So we have one specifically for critical care. Apparently the past few years it had died down, but now the hospital is trying to get magnet certified. And so a part of the requirements is to have a practice council specifically for critical care. So I am one of 10 members for that as well. So we're just getting started. So the purpose of that council is for the nurses to bring issues and problems to us, or if we see any issues and problems on our unit, that we can address it and initiate ways to make change to make it better for the nurses, of course. And the third thing that I'm doing, I'm just so busy, but whatever, it's all for a good purpose and for a very good reason, right? So the third thing that I'm doing is I am the quality assurance champion for my unit as well. So that's just a fancy way of saying that I do chart checks, chart audits. So what I do is I'm going to start in July, coming in once a month on my day off, of course, on the clock, of course, and I'm going to check charts according to JCO's requirements. So making sure that they were charting correctly, and then if not, then I pass it on to the manager, who then speaks to the different nurses or different departments about charting and helping the nurses to chart better. So that's the third thing that I'm doing. I have room for nothing else, no more, no mas. Okay, so those are the things that I'm doing at work to prepare me for CRNA school. And you don't have to do things like charge nurse or quality assurance. However, you should do something. I also do precepting. I did on my old floor, I did precepting for nurses, for new nurses, new hires, and also for students. And now in the unit, I used to be a step down nurse. So on that floor that I used to work on, when they train in step down nurses, they send them down to the unit for a day to shadow or to be with the unit nurse. So I do that as well. So there was a young lady who is being trained for to be step down. She came at night and she was with me for a night to see what I did and to just precept and shadow, you know? So, well, yeah, I guess those 4 things that I'm doing at work, but no more, nothing else. But everything is falling into place. It's working out good. So yes, so that is all that I have for you guys. If you guys are getting involved at work, if you have any questions about anything, leave it down below in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.